Everybody, we have episode number 5, Coach Vibes. We have Scott Martin. He's the head football coach at Long Beach High School, head basketball coach too. Head basketball coach as well. Yep. So we got a dual sport coach here. Scott, welcome to Coach Vibes. Thank you for coming on. So,
I love being here. Thanks for asking me. We're here at Long Beach. We're in the room. This is I talked to Matt before we started. This is where we do our pre-games. This is where we do our walkthroughs. So it's like a special cave that we're in right now too. I hope it sounds good on the podcast.
We'll find out soon enough, but I love it. I love it down here. This school has to be one of the best high schools with like locations in terms of like what you get. I got the water to my right. I got a brand new building behind you that you can't see obviously in the parking lot. It's like a great setup here.
And it's getting better. They're putting an aquarium in here and stuff. It's insane. We tried to get in the weight room, but they're cleaning it now. The weight room is a college weight room that overlooks the bay. There's no school like it. There's no school like it where you can train and look over at the water and see a sailboat go by.
Yeah, no, definitely not. So let's break it down, Coach. Talk about growing up experiences playing sports. Where'd you play high school? Did you play college? Let's break it down.
Yeah, quickly, as quick as I can because we want to get into the meat of it. I grew up in Queens in Ozone Park. My family moved to Westbury or East Meadow School District when I started high school, and that's where I really started playing football. I learned football in the streets there in Ozone Park. A lot of the kids from the Catholic leagues, the St. Francis Prep kids, the Holy Cross kids, those were heavily in my neighborhood at the time. So snow day or something, we learned how to play football on the street, run the out by the car, things like that. Snowed, the whole neighborhood would be out there. So I loved the football from the start, from doing that. But I didn't play any middle school. I didn't play any youth. When I got into high school, I played at Clark High School for 2 really great guys, a father-son duo, Jack Boyle and John Boyle. John Boyle was the head coach. His father was the elderly at the time. He was the offensive line coach, and I played for those guys for 4 years at Clark. We won a county championship in 1997. I graduated in 1998, and then I went to CW Post, not too far, where I played 4 years for a great guy, Brian Collins, who just passed away a few years ago. Brian Collins also from Queens, so we had that connection. That's how he recruited me. A lot of his staff were guys from Holy Cross or St. Francis Prep, which is where Collins went to high school too. And I played 4 years there. Learned a lot about football, was kind of the football junkie, We wound up winning, just like in high school, senior year, conference championship at CW Post. And then I started my coaching career right after that. And I started at Clark High School. And I coached under my head coach for 4 years before moving to Herrick's for 2 seasons and then got here to Long Beach. And I've been here, this is my 19th season as the head coach coming up.
Wow, 19 just for football?
Just for football,
okay.
Yeah.
All right,
yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. That's a great journey right there. So,
yeah.
So it was a button hook at the Buick and just make sure that you were open, right? Back in the day?
Playing those games, I just remembered the older kids loving how I played, my intensity, but I also remembered running into cars and how bad running into cars hurt. So you're going for a flag route or a fly route, and you just lost your wind because you just hit one of the huge cars on the street. And the kids have to pick you up and say, all right, let's go. So the first hits that we really took were from cars. That's
awesome, but also painful at the same time. My defensive coordinator at Kellenberg, he's still there. He grew up in Ozone Park as well. So he would tell me stories about growing up playing street football too.
It's a great neighborhood. Yeah. It's a great neighborhood.
Absolutely. I would love to, if you could get to a time machine and check that out. That'd be great. But so let's start your coaching experience. So tell us your first day, Long Beach High School head coach, right? What do you say to those kids?
Well, I was here prior for a year, so I was here under a really good coach, Coach Jim Bernhardt, who became a professional coach. He coached with the Houston,
the Texans. Oh, wow.
He was at Penn State after the whole, situation they had up at Penn State. He was actually the next head coach after Paterno passed away. But he was like an interim getting ready for Bill O'Brien. So,
okay, got it.
So Bernhardt was a great guy, and I was able to work with him for 1 year, and I learned from 1 year. I mean, I did this with a lot of different coaches, but Bernhardt was one. From working in him for 1 year, I learned so much. Mm-hmm. So that when I came in that first year, I already had my plans. I already wanted to be a head coach. I already had all that stuff, but he pushed us that way. So I already had a lot of the designs that he had. I was able to take over. So that gave me some good confidence. And I just loved football, and I always wanted to be a part of a program that did it the right way.
Yeah.
So that I was at the helm, I was trying to do everything the right way, trying to be sound football-wise, a great support system for the students, and then really trying to bring in a staff, because the only way you can coach football is with the staff. You need good guys, you need dedicated guys, you need guys that know what they're talking about and that are grounded, that they run their own stuff, which is right now what my guys do. My offensive guy, my defense, they run their own things.
Yeah.
That's their plan coincided with my plan, but they have that. And when you have a staff that they're part of the program, they're just not working for somebody, they're a part of it, and the program's there, and the play calls are there, and the ideas are there. It really comes with a collaboration, and that's what teams really need to be good. So it took a long time because that takes time to develop. The relationship with the kids is tough right away when you start coaching, because I tell a lot of young coaches this is those kids aren't really your kids. You didn't train them, you didn't bring them up, but they're there and they're meaningful, and you have to respect them, and they should play, meaning the seniors and juniors you didn't train. But your players are really down the line. So a lot of times when coaches take over, sometimes there's friction between the returning players and the new coaches. And the new coaches, I try and tell them, you need to just keep those returners, you got to treat them well, because this is their program and your program's down the line. So just keep that in mind, because there will be bumps in the road, and they weren't taught by you, they weren't trained by you, and they're not going to fully trust you right away. Even if you're the greatest coach, it's going to take time. So there's bumps in the road, and you have to realize that. But I always try and say, don't ignore those seniors because they're not yours. They still deserve what they do, and this is their team, and they put the work in, and you just have to understand their mentality. So when there's friction, you understand it and try to alleviate it those first few years. But it was a tough go the first few years, just trying to find our niche and trying to find the right coach in the right spot, because that's important too, because I always feel that any coach is valuable. Anyone who comes in, someone could come into the staff, and I've heard this in other staffs, is this coach doesn't know much about whatever, offense, defense, offensive line, so we can't use them. And it's like, no, in football there's like a million jobs. There's a job for everybody. So anybody, any volunteer that wants to come along, any young coach, if we have a spot open and they want to give it a shot, which we've had, come in, give them a job, and then build it from there. And then, might not be just like a player. It might not be the best staff member, but progress 3, 4, 5 years, next thing you know, they are the best one. And I'm sure a lot of coaches around around the country will say that. High school, youth league, just gotta push those guys and gotta keep them, and you gotta try to get everybody useful. So it was exciting to start, but now that it's running, it kind of runs smoothly.
Yeah.
Now that the season and the program is running, which is another thing that we used to tell the staff is, early on, maybe we didn't have the players or as many players as we wanted. And it's like, guys, just get the program, the practice, the preparation, all the routines, get them down so that when the players come, you'll be winning championships, or you'll be at the doorstep of winning championships because of the prep that you did before. So it's been a ride, and I owe the credit that we had success in the last 4 or 5 years to the staff. They put a ton of work in.
Yeah.
And they work well together, and they love the kids, and we've had some tremendous talent. I mean,
Yeah.
but for 19 years, I've had tremendous talent. I remember the talent I had my first year, and sometimes we marvel at that because we know so many other schools might be struggling. We're like, well, they're struggling because maybe they don't have that top athlete, and every year we have 1, 2, 3. Last year, I think we had 5 or 6. This year, we look like we have 7 or 8 top athletes, guys that we were like, wow, and that's what you need to have. But if it's not prepared beforehand, you might take those top athletes and still not do anything because of why? Because you were distracted, or you were upset or angry that you didn't have those athletes then. Yeah. So it's like, just prepare, because they'll come. And I think I've heard that on other podcasts, maybe on the podcast that you did with Chavo. He kind of said, I think, the same thing.
Yeah,
you got to get it rolling, and then when the kids are there, it'll be fun. You'll win. And it's not all about winning, but that's you just want to do it the right way, coach the right way.
Absolutely, agreed. Really quick on your program, you talked about like talent on the field, but like what characteristics, what do you value in your program in terms of off the field that makes your program special?
That's a good question, and it's changed from the start. I think in most of the athletics in Long Beach since I've been here, it's changed. The top athletes that we've had on the football team are the top students. We pride ourselves on the Nassau chapter, the Golden 11 Award they give out for the National Football Foundation and College Hall of Fame. our guys want it every year. They want to be Golden 11. And to be Golden 11, you got to be in the classroom. You got to be. So there's a competition between our players on our team of who's going to get the best grades, who's going to do the best around the school, who's going to be. So they compete for that. And I'll tell you what, they get very upset because at the end of the season, we'll have 3 or 4 guys that could be Golden 11 guys. Golden 11 is an all-county player or an all-county talent, caliber player, and someone who's going to have 199, 1,500 SATs, some crazy number.
Yeah.
And then when those kids are neck and neck, and the one kid gets it, it's almost like they lost the MVP. So, and I think that's a credit to why we play football well at times. Is these kids are smart, they're dedicated, they're good kids, and the more kids like that you have in the program, the more kids you'll get like that, or you'll help the other kids act like that. So those are the leaders of the team. I think our captains the last 4 years have all been honor roll students. We have a recent graduate, Luke Hartman, one of the best players we've had. I've had here at Long Beach. He just recently enrolled into the Marine Academy, the Naval Academy, and that's a big accomplishment. Having someone there, we've had our former quarterback years ago. He went into the Army. Into that academy. Those are tremendous accomplishments, and they both look to play athletics there. So that's what we kind of push. That's what we preach. We preach we're here for school first, that they shouldn't be out on the field. We're not here for football. We're here for school. And I think it's stretched. I mean, we won a few Scholar Athlete Team awards, not as many as we'd like, but every year we've have countless, a number of Scholar Athletes for the state recognition. And it makes it easier. It makes it easier because we can add more offensively and defensively scheme-wise because they're smarter. Yeah. And then they're also more aware to give us info, whether it's a play call or an alignment or something, because they're just good students.
Yeah, that's certainly a great foundation to have as an athlete, because if you can't think on the field, you're not really playing. You're just standing still, yeah. Especially in football. So, Scott, thank you so much for sharing that. That was... I hope anyone that's listening to that can just see that Long Beach really prides themselves on having great character and having great academics to back that up. But let's move on. Let's talk about right now the current situation of high school football on Long Island. All right, what do you think we could do to make it better, improve it?
Well, it's a tough question that I guess a lot of people are trying to feed through and trying to figure out. I think it comes in waves. It was more participation years ago, and maybe it's less participation now, which I get. And I think that's going to come in waves. Here at Long Beach, we've always had small teams in terms of numbers, roster size 30 or less. Very rarely do we have a roster, above 30 or much above 30. Mm-hmm. And that's something. So I think for a lot of teams is to learn how to manage the small rosters. I think 19 or 20 is the limit for the legal minimum limit. Yeah. And managing a 20-man roster is very difficult. How you prepare, how you practice, how you run things, how hard you can go at certain times, how hard you can hit at certain times, days off, things like that, and practice ideas on changing. So I think a lot of teams might need to do that. That's what I think about when people tell me that their programs are struggling. Maybe because you have a small number of kids and you have to learn how to manage a roster of a small number of kids. And I'm not saying they don't know how to do that, but it's something that is an issue. And when we sit around talking about football is not good here, or it's not good there, or it's not growing, it could be the population. It could be kids playing other sports, which what we have here in Long Beach is kids play other sports. We have everything here. The school offers so much. I mean, we have a surf team. Who has a surf team? No one has a surf team. Right. We have all the bells and whistles of the extracurricular. We have guys that just play tennis, or guys that just swim. Our swim teams is really good, or guys that just wrestle, and they kind of just want to do their own thing, and they're top athletes, and I get it, and you want to do what's true to you. And also, now that we have so much travel sports and a lot of things, guys want to play travel. Yeah. And that's another kind of criticism or complaint that I hear a lot around. Well, the guys play all these travel sports. I grew up playing basketball in Ozone Park. I played with some professionals. I had some great experiences on the basketball court. When I was in high school, if they had all this travel, I don't know if I played football because I love basketball that much. Right. So I guess people look at the two flips of the coin. Yeah. I have basketball players here that just play basketball because they love it and they know that they only have so much life to play basketball in. You know, I talk about the hourglass with both the basketball and the football players. You turn the hourglass over and the sand goes through, and then that's it. There's no more games. So what do you want to do as a kid? I want to play as many games as I can. And now coaches will criticize him. Why is he playing this many lacrosse or basketball or this? Why is he? That's what the kid loves. So he's going to play what he loves. So I think we get more and more of that, and it's easy to criticize it. I don't think there's a criticism. The kids should choose what they want to do if they want to love to do something, but they might miss out on something else. So I think the issue, I don't think football in the county is struggling as bad as people think. I think there's teams that are having a hard time fielding a team, and that could be a demographic, or that could be, you know, a cultural, or that could be a regional issue. And then I understand that, but throughout the county, we're playing good football. Yeah. You know, we're playing good football. At the top of every conference, there's really good football teams. The middle of every conference, there's teams that are playing at competitive levels. I talk to all these coaches around the county to figure out how their league is structured and what's good inside, top, middle, bottom. And it seems like most teams are putting together pretty good football. Do we all want to win the championship? Yes. Do we all want to go undefeated? Yes. But that's just not the way it goes. So I would tell people to not keep looking at the scoreboard, not to keep looking at the standings. And this is what I did in my first few years. When we weren't winning games, but we were playing good football at times. At the end of a game, let's say we lost and we got blown out a few times. Let's say we got blown out in one of my first years in the game. I would bring the kids into the video room on Monday, and I'd show them all the highlights. So the highlights would be like, let's say we lost 42-6, something like that, and there's 50 highlights or 40 highlights, and I'd go, guys, there's 40 highlights against a team that just crushed you. You leave the game going, you're demoralized, we stink, we're no good, and then I go, 40 highlights against a team that eventually won the county championship. So they destroyed you on the scoreboard.
Right.
Yeah, we made several mistakes that they capitalized on with either long runs or big touchdowns or turnovers. But you had 40 highlights.
Yeah.
You know what you got to do next year? Get 60, then get 80, then get 100. Now, you don't have the same kids, but you're pushing that. You're like, that's what you do. So you don't, they like to say the word, you don't suck. You don't suck. You 40 highlights.
No.
Against, you think they were letting you? That's what I said. You think they were letting you get these highlights? No, they're not. They're the best team in the county in your conference, and you had 40 highlights against them. So lift up your chin, puff up your chest. You played good football. You didn't win, but you played good football. And let's watch these highlights. And then we go through the highlights. And then we, of course, go through the mistakes and stuff like that.
Right.
But sometimes they need to be reminded of that.
Yeah.
And not in a negative sense, in a positive sense. Because sometimes you just are overmatched by the talent on the other side. But you can still look at the product, which is great with the video that we have, to see how well we're playing, even though we didn't put the points on the scoreboard. So my advice to young coaches, don't pay attention too much to the scoreboard. Don't pay attention too much to the standings. Look at the meat, look at the video, look at what you're doing, and see if they're improving there, and then you gauge it. And then tell the kids the truth. Now, if they're playing poorly, I tell them all the time, I go, if you were playing poorly, I'm going to tell you. I go, you played well. Shake it off. We'll get right back at it. So it's hard to have that mentality, especially after you lose. I was at Herrick's. We didn't have a varsity team my first year at Herrick's, and so we played JV.
Yeah.
And then the next year I was at Herrick's, so we went 1-7.
Yeah.
And the goal there at the time, and we used to sit with the coaches, is the goal is to play every game. And we had a small number of kids, 20, 22, around that, and it was like the kids loved football. And they didn't know much about it. Our goal was to play the games. Get in the game, play the whole game. Next week, prepare. Do we have enough kids? Get in the game. And that kept it rolling. Now you look like a program at Herrick's now, and I'm not saying I created it, but we kept it rolling. Other coaches took it, and now Herrick's is they're not winning championships, but they're not a bad team.
They're a solid program.
They've beaten Hempstead. We've lost to them. They've beaten us.
Yeah.
They have a team and they play football and and they have some good players and they have all county players. So when you get into those woes, try to pull those woe is me's, I don't have that out. And I know, it might sound like arrogant or cocky, but it's just got to grind it out.
Yeah, it's just how it is.
And sometimes it doesn't work, but the staff is the most important. You need the support system of the staff.
Yeah.
and then you have to try to promote the program and the kids. But I think that sometimes the kids need to be reminded when they're playing well, not just the scoreboard, and then to try to. The other thing I try and tell the kids is to die out the noise. There's so much noise, especially in school, whether you win or lose in front of them, and oh, you lost by this much, and you're not that good, or when you go into the community and they criticize the quarterback or the play caller or whoever they do. I'm like, you guys got to kill that noise, because that's just outside noise that don't know what's going on inside our team, inside our family, inside our program. And you got to I go, you don't be mean to people, don't be disrespectful. They're allowed to have their opinion. You smile and you say yes, and you just walk away.
Yeah.
But in your head you say, they don't know. They just don't know. They're not with us, So that's a tough thing to do too, especially when you're struggling, listening to the whispers and listening to the criticisms, and you have to try to tell the kids to try to not listen to it too. And I give them great examples. I was like, there's people that come to the game. I always say this. I go, my people come to every game. My people meaning my friends, my families, people that I know for years. They all come to the games. You don't think they call me after the game and tell me, this was a bad call, or why did you do this? I'm like, that happens all the time. I go, you think I yell at my dad for telling me that? I go, no. I'm not gonna say, Dad, thanks. I'm glad you came. I'm glad you were engaged. And I don't even tell him he's wrong or if he's wrong. I just, shake heads. So I go, you have to go back to your people and do the same thing. Be nice, be polite, and just go back at it. Because sometimes that stuff could really demoralize the team too. And I don't like to criticize that noise too, because that's a common thing. That's a sports fan. We're sports fans. When I watch a game, on a professional game or a college game, I'm going to make some criticism and comments too, right? So try not to get upset about it. Don't get angry with people, but it's really not what's going on.
Absolutely.
So that's something else that helps a struggling program.
That also rolls into the brotherhood of the locker room, like how tight a team is. Like the teams, you'll know like once the single first moment of adversity hits, you'll know if they're going to be able to handle that.
Yeah.
So and that's huge for the teams. And you've had teams that have made a lot of runs to Hofstra.
Yeah.
Those teams probably have those characteristics, to just let that slide off their back.
Yeah, it's something that I think all of the coaches already do with telling the kids about the adversity. It's going to come.
Yeah,
it's going to come. And even the teams that win all the time, they have the same thing. They have some kind of adversity, whether it's on the field, a big fumble, a turnover, or something happened inside the program, inside the team, and it could be injury, it could be anything.
Anything, yeah.
But there's an adversity that you're going to have to face, and how you react to it is really what tells you your character and who you are. And get ready for it, because it's coming.
Yep.
And then that propels them to life.
Yeah,
and then something that I saw on your last podcast. It's like it propels you to life. So what we're teaching them is try to be, responsible and good people, and be able to overcome adversity when it hits you in life. Because I tell them it's going to hit you. You're gonna get hit with some tough times, and how you go through them is going to matter. So maybe you could remember the minuscule lessons of football that help you get over those mountain adversities of your life.
I think that's what people kind of overlook, kind of what you brought up before about when with teaching, in terms of the teaching side of coaching. Like, people don't really see that.
Yeah.
They don't see those conversations happen on the field on a Tuesday at 3:30. They don't see that going on, and they don't see that after practice is over. I think that's what makes athletics so valuable, especially football. Yeah. I'm not saying another sport isn't valuable, but athletics in general just bring that teaching lessons for life. It's invaluable. You just can't.
You can't. I say it at the awards dinners all the time. What we teach out there can't be taught in the classroom.
Yep.
Now, obviously, things in the classroom we can't teach out there.
Without a doubt.
I'm just a football or basketball coach. I can't teach the other things that these teachers in this building do. But there's lessons out there they will not get in here or anywhere else. But they might see again in the workforce or in their family.
Yeah.
Adversity in your family, adversity in the workforce, adversity in your life. That's going to come out in the game where, believe me, I played football for 8 years. There's times out there you think it's like the worst. You're like, what? When it's just a game and it's just a small part. So if you can recall those hard parts that you got over in just a game, you might be able to push through and succeed in your difficult adversity in life. And also it teaches you to lean on other people.
Yeah.
That in football, you can't do it by yourself, so you need help. And sometimes you're struggling, and someone else needs to help you, and that could be in a million different ways. So, and you're not alone. You're not alone in your journey.
Yeah.
When you're going through your life, you're not alone on the football field. You have support systems.
So I gotta ask you, 19 years you said, right?
19 years as the head coach coming up
this year. What schemes scared you the most when you had to prep for the week? Offensively, defensively. What schemes did you say like, all right, this is gonna give me a problem? Or, opposite, what schemes you're like, all right, I think I can attack this scheme pretty well?
The teams that could hide personnel and use multiple personnels and then run a personnel with multiple formations is tough. So MacArthur, a bunch of years back, I think they won the county that year, was able to play double tight and 4 wide receivers without making a sub.
Wow.
So now we don't know what they're in. So their tight ends were obviously tremendous athletes. They were able to split out and play split ends.
Okay.
And so we're like, what are they in? We don't know what they're in. So teams that could hide what they're doing by personnel, whether it's like that, that's a difficult one. Or the substitutions, the tricky substitutions that they get in, and maybe we don't catch it. Now, we've gotten better at it. I have substitution issues with the rules on how sometimes it's difficult to see who's in and who's out of the game.
Yeah.
But those become problems defensively. Personnel is a big deal.
Yeah.
The unbalanced formations become an issue. I think for everybody, that's why you see them a lot. We run them. A lot of teams run them. I think you'll see them more when you get closer to the playoffs.
Yeah.
So maybe someone doesn't run it, and then they come back and run it.
Yep.
Those unbalanced formations could trick the kids. It could trick the coaches. I think the coaches are caught up, but I think it could trick the kids. And then if they're aligned wrong, the play's over. They're going to score or they're going to make a big gain.
Yeah.
And then I also think it plays into the officials. The unbalanced formations could trick the officials, which gives an advantage, not on purpose, to the other team because of the formation. So defensively, we'll have trouble with things like that. Offensive schemes,
You haven't seen a lot over your years.
We've seen a lot. The single wing stuff that they used to run in Glen Cove was very difficult because you couldn't replicate it.
Yeah.
They used to run the spinner series. They used to run direct snaps. Those were very difficult. And then really the teams that could just line up and push you down the field, which is more, I think, an old school type of mentality. Like when I played, it was a team like Bethpage. They could just line up and never throw the ball and run you right down the field and score, and you really can't stop them. That's a tough one. Those military offenses run well are very difficult to stop. So a few years ago, we played, JFK played here. Belmore JFK played us at homecoming here. We got off to a decent lead. And then, it's homecoming. We're trying to get other guys in, but some of the linebackers weren't able to read the triple option and the misdirection of a military offense. And then Belmore was able to get back in the game, which was good, which is part of the game. And we were able to adapt, but those things are really hard to stop because they're hard to replicate in practice. But they're also hard to run without what I always say, like monsters. If you don't have these big, strong kids and big, strong fullbacks and just guys that'll grind, it's not going to beat the best teams. Now, years ago, I think that they did beat the best teams. But right now, sometimes you can go, well, we're going to play this team, and all we have to do is run between these two gaps because we're going to outpower them. I think defenses have caught up, and we're able to manipulate the fronts to stop that. But it's a tough thing, and that's the demoralizing thing. So when I was young and we were playing those Bethpage teams, and they were pushing the ball on us, and you really feel like you can't do anything. I think schemes have come in to make a stop on it, but those are difficult things to take, but multiplicity, we promote multiplicity on our offense. We want to be multiple. We want to be able to throw the ball and pass the ball equally. We want to be able to run multiple formations. I think that makes it difficult for the defense to match. So that's what we try to do offensively. We try to give them different looks and different alignments and even different, we love weird formations. Like, this is a weird formation.
You like a quads or an empty or something like that?
We would run empty when we have it if the receivers can catch, if we have these 5 receivers. But the alignment of the split ends, sometimes we're really tight, things like that. The alignment that, again, those alignments might trick a kid in aligning to that. This receiver's way tight. How do I align?
Yeah, is he a tight end or is he not?
Yep, and then there's a stacked. This receiver's stacked.
Yeah.
And then there's the H-back on the wing. Is he a tight end or is he not? So then the the defensive coaches and then the defensive players have to know how to identify these players.
Yeah.
So they know how to have to cover them and pass and then be able to fill the gap and run.
Yes.
So that's what we try to do. We try to make it tricky there. And everybody in our team for the last few years, they must catch. If you can't catch, then you have to play on the line. So we have guys, and if you have a running back who can't catch, you're not going to play. We want 5 guys out on routes, on most of our routes, so that every defender, they have to know they have to cover every guy every time, and that helps you run the ball.
That puts a lot of pressure on defenses when you have 5 viable threats.
5 guys.
Do you see a lot of split safety? Do you see a lot of quarters? Do you see a lot of man? Do you see a lot of combo?
I think the common thing is most teams are playing a lot of man.
Okay.
And I think that they'll have situational 2 deep and things like that if they're gonna. So in the past we were personnel based, where we would bring out our 4 receivers or our 5 receivers, and the other team would know. So what would happen? They'd sub in their dime or their nickel package. They'd bring extra defensive backs, take out linebackers, and they'd match that.
Yeah.
So in the last few years, we haven't done that. So like I told you with MacArthur, where we're the same personnel. So now you can't dictate whether we're passing or running. And that helps with it. But a lot of single high safeties, still teams playing cover 3. I think a lot of man coverage still.
If you got the guys to run man, run man.
Man is good, but then they have all these switch routes, and then guys can get open, and then there's the back shoulder fades, and then there's a lot of different things man really hurts you in. We play man match.
Okay.
So we're not man right off the bat.
Yeah.
You run into our zone, we match you.
Yeah.
So which becomes a little tricky for teams to recognize or see. But if you're gonna play man, you need the pressure.
Yeah.
And if you're gonna pressure, you got to be able to pressure with 4. We have a ton of blitz plays here, and almost every play that we have has a blitz answer. So it's like, well, we're gonna just throw that, And then a few years back, no one blitzed us, and we threw the ball a ton. We had one game, I think we threw it almost 50, and probably 35 on a regular basis. And I said to the coach, I go, they're not blitzing us. Why not? He goes, it's every time they blitz us, we're hitting something.
Yeah. And
then now the coaches are worried about the blitz, so they're ready to just cover and try to give you a 4-man rush. But it's hard to 4-man rush. It's pass rushing in high school is something that's not worked on very often. People don't spend that much time on it because they don't have a lot of time to do it.
Yeah.
And then when the quarterback is that athletic, you could rush, but the hole's open and then they can take off. So it's another play. That year when we went to Hofstra and lost to Memphis in the storm. We had to play in this hurricane. It was like.
What, do you remember the year of that?
Yeah, it was just a few years back.
Okay.
It was probably like 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
The exact year, I don't know. So we went to Hofstra, and they moved the game because it was a storm.
Okay.
But they moved it into the eye of the storm, not knowingly. We followed the weather.
Right.
And we played in a terrible storm. The wind was whirling, and the water was coming down. It was 0-0 the whole game, and then it stopped. Right. Then it just stopped.
Wow.
And then Memphis scored.
Okay.
And we're like, all right. It stopped. Now we can play.
Yeah.
We could line up the kickoff, comes back down again, and rains as hard as it can for the whole time, and wind up losing by a score.
Wow.
But that year, we had a quarterback that could scramble. So now it's another thing. As a defense, you play a quarterback that can scramble and get big yards on a scramble, you need to have someone cover the quarterback.
Yeah.
So now you need everybody to cover all the receivers, 5 receivers.
Yep.
Then you need someone to cover the quarterback. Then you need guys to rush. Now you're running out of guys.
Yep.
And then
it's not Canada.
And you might have to double one of these receivers.
Yeah.
Or you might have to think, you might have to have someone in that vicinity. We had a guy last year, all Long Island player, Zach Silva. They probably had to have someone, he might not have been doubling, but assigned to the deep part of his field, things like that. So we try to make it difficult that way. And it, always helps when you have a great running back returning, which we do.
That's definitely helpful. Do you like the style now in terms of like what you're doing, or do you like the old school stuff back when you were not necessarily like when you were playing?
I liked all of it. I'm a football junkie, so I like all of it. I just think that I'm trying to beat the teams that are the best.
Yeah.
And so it's what I tell a lot of people when they're trying to pick their coaches. I talk to a lot of young coaches when they're trying to pick what they're doing, what their schemes are. And it's like, will the thing that you're picking beat the number 1 team in your conference? And they're like, no, it won't. Will it ever? If you got really good at doing that, Could you beat them? And if the answer is no,
Throw it in the trash.
then why not? Why are you doing it?
right.
Because you could just beat the low teams. So you could beat the teams that, well, they could beat these teams. Now, maybe that's the point of your program at that point. You have to worry about beating those teams.
Yep.
But once you get to a certain point in your program, you're like, I want to beat the top team. I want to compete for championships. So I need a scheme that could beat them for championships. And in my mind, where we are without talent, it's got to be in the air. It's got to be a throw the ball, make them worry about coverage.
Yep.
And then open up the run. So throw to open up the run rather than the old school of run to open up the throw.
Yeah.
The play action or something, which some teams still do, and believe me, it's tough to cover.
Yeah.
We're working on trying to cover the waggle and the bootlegs and all that stuff, which are really hard to cover too. And you know it because they run in the NFL every single week.
Yeah, and if high school kid doesn't necessarily see that because they're seeing spread, maybe they're seeing air raid.
Yeah.
And then they're going to, they're playing like a Bethpage and they're seeing ground and pound.
Yeah.
So they're not throwing the ball at all. So yeah, definitely. That's definitely something that's, it puts a lot on the defensive staff for sure.
That's what we try to do. We try to do that, and then add all the motions and shifts.
Right.
So then once you get that, you're like, all right, now we got a motion, now we got a shift, now we got to do all this, and again, it can make mistakes for those kids.
Yeah.
Those kids.
What's it like being recruited? Kids now that you coach, what would you say to a senior in terms of like high school? Any advice you would give them?
Yeah, I always tell the kids to be, obviously, number one is grades. If you have good grades, you'll get recruited if you're a good player. If you don't have good grades, they're gonna struggle to try to get you into school. So you're creating a barrier for them to get you, no matter how good you are. If you don't have the grades, if you don't have the test scores, then you're gonna hit a barrier and you might not get into certain schools. So you wanna keep that option always, and we try to tell those kids early on. So if you're a kid that needs extra help, you need to go to get extra help. If you need to take SAT preps, you need to get that stuff. That opens up a lot of doors. The other thing he says, you just work every day out in practice. I think that sometimes missed. Like, how do I get recruited? You got to keep getting better. You got to keep getting better. So the number one thing is obviously getting the grades. The number two thing is working your butt off in practice, and not just in practice, in training. And then you have to have a personal training of your own. And then you have to promote yourself. We encourage the kids to get a Twitter account to post up their GPA and their highlights and their accolades and their extracurriculars and post it up there. And, where college coaches could see. And then, play your heart out.
Yeah.
Play your heart out. Kids are going to know, people are going to notice you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great coaches in the county, high school coaches in this county that have great connections with a lot of college coaches. Just off the top of my head, Joe Vito, he goes from college to college in the winter. You don't think he's going to comment on the players in our county? He does, and he's not alone. I'm sure some of these top coaches and myself, I've gotten them too, get a phone call and they go, who are the best players in the county? We want to know who's on your team, but who are the best players? Who would you recruit? And then I would rattle off this kid and this kid. Usually kids which in my conference because I watch them a lot on the video.
Right.
And then that's how you get recruited. So do the right thing in the classroom. Do the right thing in practice. Do the right thing in training. Do the right thing in the game. All right? So that the other coaches like you. That this is the other coaches. This is one thing that the kids don't realize sometimes. The other coaches like you. You're on the other team. I love the other players. Like I look at the other players like, wish I had that guy. He's a good guy. He's a good player.
Right.
And sometimes the kids don't realize that. So behave yourself.
Yeah.
Behave yourself on the field. Behave yourself with the other coaches. Behave yourself with the other players so that they can promote you. Because we are a big community, of knowledgeable football coaches with connections all over the country. You want to show that out there on the video, and everything's being videoed now on Huddle, and that's how you'll get promoted. That's how you'll go. And then try to find the school that's going to have your major, right? That's financially for you. Some people are going to get offered a lot of money, and maybe you're like, oh, I like this school, they're offering me nothing, and I like this school, they're offering me $30,000, $40,000. You might have to make that financial decision with your parents. So there's a lot that comes into it.
Yeah.
But if you're not checking off academics, preparation, practice, field, behavior, and the effort you put on the field, if you're not doing those things, then you're not going to get recruited anyway. So do those things first. Don't worry so much about the recruiting. Just try to keep getting better. And then you pick your school rather than the school pick you. Unless you're a Division I type of guy where they're chasing you, which we don't get too many of those guys. We've had one, Tyreek Cole played at Rutgers, and he wasn't being chased. Kyle Flood came in here in the middle of the season, and offered him a scholarship. That was late, to get a Division I guy in the middle of his senior year and give him a full scholarship is late, but it happened. And if that happens, it's a different story. So the recruiting of Division I guys in the Big Ten and the ACC and all these SEC, that's different than the recruiting 99.9% of our guys go through. They're guys that are looking to play Division II, Division III, and then maybe some need to go into a junior college to pull up their grades, which is always an option too.
Yeah, and you know what? It's not a bad option too, given the circumstances of today. I mean, that could really change your life if you have D1 talent, the grades aren't there. You work on that part of your game, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then you can, it can open up a lot of possibilities. I think that's something that the possibility on Long Island here. Overall, there's a lot of talent here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talent. And it's just not being tapped into. And I think that we could definitely do something about that to change that and, open up another door for those guys down the road.
Yeah.
Scott, what's the most rewarding part of coaching?
I just like watching the kids have fun. That's really, when I go out there and practice, I'm not always in the middle of the practice. The coaches are coaching, the players are, and a lot of times I could just watch and watch them make an incredible play, one-handed catch, watching them, fight through the last sprints, watching them, camaraderie that they have. Our offensive line runs after every practice. It's just fun to watch them have fun. I think you just think back like, wow, I remember we had fun.
Yeah, that was the best part.
And then I remind them that. So when I bring them in, I'm like, guys, you guys practiced well today, and it was fun to watch you, man. It was. I had a good time watching you, and the kids are always good. We've always, obviously you have exceptions here and there, but the kids are always good to be with, always to be great in practice, and they're giving great effort.
Yeah.
And what more could you ask for? It's just a fun thing. This is my 20. So I've been here in Long Beach 20 years. I coached 3 sports here for 20 years. That's 60 teams. And then I coached at Herrick's. And then I coached at Clark in East Meadow. And people, 3 sports for that long, 20-something years, 20 since 2022, 24 years, 3 sports a year. Yeah. I've done that forever. And people go, well, you keep doing it. I have fun. I like it.
Yeah.
I'm a work guy. I like to work, so that's number one. But being with the kids and the coaches makes it special, makes it fun, And then the other stuff, the work stuff, which is hard. Yeah. It's easy because of that.
Yeah, that makes it all more rewarding than for sure.
Yeah.
Last question.
Go ahead.
If you could sum up Long Beach High School football, your program, into a couple words, what would you describe it as?
I think, I'm sure most coaches will say the same thing. It's special because it's just special for us. It's a special, the school really, really makes it special because they adopt it. And I think a lot of schools do it. Football just started, school just started. Yeah. So the school culture and the vibe is pretty cool, and that makes it special here. The athletes make it special here. I mean, we've had tremendous athletes, like I said, and kids that were easy to coach. But it's just a great place to work. I'm happy with the opportunity that I was given, and I'm glad that I could be here for as long as I can. And I appreciate all those things that people have done for me to get me here. And I'm just still having fun. So who knows? It could be maybe 29 years. Maybe I'll go 10 more years.
That's not bad. Why don't you just go around 30, make it nice and even?
It's possible. It's possible. I have a lot of, friends, acquaintances that retired, and they said sometimes it just hits you, so you don't know until you know.
Yeah.
It's not something that you usually plan for. It's usually something that you walk into, maybe, family situations, maybe health situations, but something's going to end it.
Yep.
And when it comes, it comes. And I'm not too worried about it now. I'm just trying to focus on this team.
Yep.
And I'm excited about them, and they're excited about football. And we made it to the championship last year, first time in 39 years of longer. I don't know what here in Long Beach High School. So we're just looking to build on that, have fun, and give the kids the best chance they can get.
All right. Well, you heard it from the man himself, Scott Martin, head coach of Long Beach High School football. Scott, I want to thank you again for coming on. I hope you enjoyed it.
Had fun.
We have to have
Had a
you
good
on
time.
for part two.
Yeah.
I definitely want to break down some basketball with you as well.
Basketball. We can go up on the whiteboard sometimes too, maybe.
Absolutely. Listen, let's do it.
I think that would be fun to go up there and maybe draw up the favorite scheme or the favorite defense or the favorite blitz or something like that.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do everything. We'll do some basketball, do some football.
Awesome.
We'll do it.
Thank you very much.
Hey, everybody, thank you so much. If you enjoy this content, please don't forget, like and subscribe to Coach Vibes on X, Instagram, or YouTube. Episode 5, Coach Vibes. Signing out. This is Matt Palizzi. See ya.